Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama. And this week, my guest is Holly. Holly runs the Etsy shop Charm and Gumption. Her shop opened on June 8th, 2012. She's had to date 4,673 sales and 661 five-star reviews. And currently she has 6,512 admirers. Holly, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So can you give a brief introduction about you first?
Sure. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I live with my husband, Wes, and I have been on Etsy now for, like you said, since 2012, and I've had my current shop, Charm and Gumption, since January 1st of last year.
Oh, nice. Were you selling in another shop, and then, or did you jump onto Etsy as a buyer first?
I kind of had a slow start with Etsy. I started with under a different business name, basically, and I was just selling like everything. I was selling stationery, prints. I didn't really have a targeted brand image so much. I was just getting started, and I was kind of trying to. I think a lot of times, when you first get started doing something like this, you just want to appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of all over the place. And so at the beginning of last year, I kind of started fresh with a good idea of exactly the type of products that I wanted to make and the type of customers that I wanted to reach out to, and just started fresh with Charm and Gumption.
Okay. So did the idea to focus come from all the other things you were selling, and you just figured something more specific from that group of things, or was this a whole brand new line for you?
I think for me, it was just taking a look at what I was really passionate about, and the kind of things that excited me to design, and the types of customers that I wanted to reach out to, and just kind of like the whole vision that I had for this brand. I wanted to reach out to people, and I wanted to inspire people, and I didn't really have a passion for like making greeting cards and stuff like that. That wasn't really where my like excitement for design was. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of took a look at that, and based on that, I decided the types of products that I wanted to design, and kind of was really detailed about like this whole brand makeover thing. I was just really detailed about, how I wanted my logo to look, and very specific about the people that I wanted to reach out to. So
interesting. I like that. So now actually you've given me like 5 other questions I want to ask. First of all was, how did you pick, what's the story behind the name Charm and Gumption?
Well, I don't really know that there's much of like a story behind it. It was more of just a reflection of the type of brand that I wanted to have. And in looking at, the types of customers that I wanted to have, I wanted to reach out to young women like me who were kind of doing something different in their life, and that can be scary to kind of not take a normal, a quote normal job, and trying to do something different. And so, it takes gumption to do that. Then I guess the charm part is just the look of the brand. I wanted to, I wanted to appeal to women, and I liked both of those words, and I thought they sounded good together. And that was how it happened. Yeah.
Okay, they do. Great. So actually you answered one of my questions was who's your target audience? That's one thing we don't really hear, or I should say I don't really hear too many Etsy sellers say, is that they picked a target customer that they were going to, create products for. And it sounds like you did that, and that really helped you to focus because you know exactly when you're making something, who you're making it for, or you have a picture of who you're making it for. That's the impression I get.
Yeah, definitely. And to me, that makes all the difference because it can be hard, when you're designing new products or whatever it may be, and you're just trying to figure out what to design next, and if you have that specific customer in mind, you can go, okay, they would like this or they would hate this or, whatever it is. Yeah. And I guess I studied marketing in college, and I guess that's where that whole thing came from. But yeah, I just wanted to have a really clear-cut idea of my customer before I even open my shop,
Yeah, that's excellent. Marketing really helps. I think a lot more creatives need to integrate more marketing into what we do. Because most of us don't think like marketers. We think like creatives. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when did you, was 2012 when you first discovered Etsy?
No, I'm not sure exactly when I first discovered Etsy. I know that I was aware of it for a long time, probably even back, in school and stuff. But it was more of, at the time, it was more of like a handmade type website. And so I never really considered it for my business in the beginning. It wasn't until, I guess, Etsy had been around for a while and you started seeing more just different types of products on Etsy. And it started to look like more of something that you could do full time rather than, I think in the beginning it sort of had this idea that it was like for people who just were selling hobby type products and it wasn't until I started seeing like real full-time businesses on Etsy that I sort of started considering that for myself.
Okay. Can I ask, did you just make 2 sales?
I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Did you?
I was trying to turn these down. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's excellent. I love that. I'm addicted to the sound because when my phone does that, I get so happy. So I was like, yay, she made 2 sales.
You couldn't hear that, but I didn't realize how.
No, it's a good thing. So actually, let me go back to your stats. Now she's made 4,675 sales. So that's really good.
Well, thank you.
So, okay, tell us what you sell.
So I sell prints, coffee mugs, notepads. Those are the top 3 types of products that I sell. But I would like to kind of move into selling even more types of products. And basically the idea is I just try to sell products that are going to inspire and encourage women to do what they want to do, to whether it's start their own business, whatever it is. I like to say to design a life they love. That's kind of my little slogan. And, just whatever that means for them, but not basically just not doing things just because they feel like they have to,
Right. I like it. A lot of what you have in your shop really resonated with me because I would see things. I'm like, oh yeah, I so get that, or I feel that way. My favorite was the print that says you can do anything but not everything. And like I need to see that every single day.
Oh, I know. Well, and I kind of made that one for myself because I have that problem a lot.
Yeah. So, what was your original goal or the intention for your original intention for your Etsy shop when you opened it? Did you open it, just for side income or specifically to be your full-time career? Or, well, I know it wasn't for a hobby because you've said that.
Yeah, I was going all in.
Oh, wow.
I really wanted to be my own boss, and in the beginning it was the first business that I opened that wasn't as targeted and everything. I was doing that sort of on the side, and I had another full-time job, and I just had like a conversation with my husband one night, and he was really encouraging. He just said, I think you need to give this all that you have, because right now, you're kind of in and out. And so, and I wasn't giving anything all of my attention. So, I was going in it with the mindset that I wanted it to be like my full-time income.
Excellent. And at the time you did that, it wasn't already making tons of money. Is that correct?
Right.
Oh, really nice. So you really just took this leap and just did it.
Yeah. And, I was really blessed. I know that a lot of people, they're just not able to do that, and we were blessed in the sense that my husband's income could cover our big bills, and then, while I was kind of getting it up and running, and I had, a plan, and I was making some money. Like, I could tell, like, people were liking what I was doing, but I just didn't have the time to really grow it the way that I wanted to, and make it, as good as I wanted it to be. So that was sort of when I took that leap.
Oh, great. And having support too in doing that is so important as well.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now you have no job outside of Etsy.
Right. Well, I also have my website shop, which is through Shopify, and so I sell on both. But yeah, that's pretty much in between filling orders, and promotion and that kind of stuff for the shop. I also write on my blog, and I have a YouTube channel and that kind of thing. So it keeps me pretty busy.
So where do most of your sales come from? Your website shop or Etsy?
Most of my sales come from Etsy, actually.
Okay. Do you try to funnel customers to your website shop, or whoever finds you there, and then whoever finds you on Etsy finds you on Etsy?
Yeah, I don't really, it doesn't really matter to me where they're coming from. I don't really have much of a preference, but usually on my blog, when I'm linking to a product or something, I will go to my Shopify shop. Just because a lot of the time, just because it's, an easier link.
Yeah.
It's just like charmandgumption.com / whatever the product is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have much of a preference.
Okay. Nice. So how do you manage your time between doing your blog and then your website? Did you build the website, the shop website on your own?
Yeah, it's not really that difficult to do. They have templates and stuff like that, but
okay.
Yeah.
So it's purely an e-commerce site. You don't do any, because you have a separate blog, the Hollywood Boulevard.
Right. And I'm actually in the process right now of working with a web developer who is going to kind of bring all of that together.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wondered about that. I was like, why are they
I know. It's kind of confusing right now.
Okay. And so just everyone, so that anyone listening knows what we're talking about, Holly has a website called charmandgumption.com, and that's where she sells her products. And then she also has a blog called hollywoodboulevard.com, and that's wood, WOULD. And I'm going to have links to all these in the show notes, and that's where she does her blogging. So that's what we're talking about. And right now they're two separate entities, but yeah, they shall soon be one.
If you go to charmandgumption.com and you click on blog in the navigation, it takes you right to that. But
okay.
But yeah, I'm in the process of getting it all. Charmandgumption.com will have all of the stuff that you need.
Okay. So yeah, then will the blog cease? Well, will the URL for the blog cease to exist?
Well, yeah, it'll redirect once it's all said and done.
Okay. So how do you manage your time with all this that you have going on?
In the beginning, it was really hard to figure out how to, because you start working from home and your schedule is so flexible, and you realize that you can work whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, I was just working all the time, and I didn't really give myself like permission to just relax. And anymore, what I have found through trial and error, basically, what really works for me is to just kind of block off my time. So my schedule is flexible, but within blocks of time. So, Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings, that's when I fill orders. And anytime that I have to schedule an appointment or something, I always do that on Tuesday afternoons. Those are just a couple examples, but, I've just found that in my schedule, if I have, chunks of time that are dedicated to certain things, that just helps me to stay productive. Whereas if it's just a free for all and you just you just do what you want to do when you feel like it, you're not going to get everything done.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Oh, good. And is your Etsy shop profitable now?
Yes.
Excellent. So when you're creating a new product, what inspires you?
I guess I'm just inspired by the types of women that I'm kind of trying to reach out to. I'm inspired by women who just do what they want to do. I'm a big fan of Beyonce. If you go to my shop, you can probably tell that.
I see. Yes.
One of my most popular prints is one that says, "What would Beyonce do?" And, but it's just anyone who is bold and themselves and who does what they want to do. And if I run across a quote that I feel like really speaks to that, I might make it into a print. Or sometimes I'll just be having a conversation with a friend of mine, and whatever it is that we're talking about will trigger some type of idea for a print. So that's always really fun when that happens.
Okay. Nice. And what's your well, no, I'll rephrase that. Do you spend time looking at any other Etsy shops that sell items similar to what you sell?
I try not to do that very much. In the beginning, I would, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. I'm kind of hard on myself about things, and I just find that if I am looking at what too many other shops are doing, it just kind of wears on my confidence.
Yeah.
And I start comparing myself, and I try to stay kind of aware of what's going on in my industry, but I don't try to look at what too many other specific shops are doing or anything just because it messes with my head.
Yeah. Okay. Have you had any bad experiences on Etsy so far?
I'm pretty lucky to say that I actually haven't. It's been overall I've had good experiences, so I can't really think of any specific bad experiences I've had. You'll have the occasional difficult customer or customer who who had kind of messed up expectations, or I don't know, but that's been very few and far between in the couple of years that I've been on there, so I can't complain.
Oh, good. Have you ever had to deal with any bad feedback or disputes?
I guess I've been pretty lucky in that I haven't had a lot of bad feedback, and usually when I've had any type of bad feedback, it's just been a miscommunication or something where the person didn't read the details in the listing, and usually I can just make it up to them somehow, and it's all good. But
good. So now you jumped into Etsy, you went all in. Would you say that it has had the impact that you expected it would?
The impact on
your
life?
Business, on your life, and then on just running your own, being your own boss.
Yeah, I think it definitely has. I think Etsy has has given me more opportunities and has grown my business in a way that other platforms couldn't. You know, when you get on Etsy, you have sort of a built-in audience, and people make treasuries, and it's easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's easier to get kind of your brand out there.
Yeah.
Because of that sort of community that Etsy has.
Okay. Now, which came first, your Etsy shop or your website? Or did you build them in tandem?
My Etsy shop came first.
Okay. Why did you decide to build an independent shop as well?
I just wanted to have, I guess, a professional looking, cohesive website where everything kind of worked together. And one kind of negative about Etsy in my mind is that as your shop grows, the fees that they charge are still per listing and per sale.
Right.
And that is really nice in the beginning when you can't, you're not making enough money to pay like a larger flat rate fee. But once your shop starts growing, it pays off so much more to have a flat rate fee. And that's one thing that I would really like to see them change in the future, or at least have it as an option. Because it would just be, those fees really add up.
Yeah.
And so that was another kind of benefit of having a different website too, is the flat rate fees. But I don't see myself ever closing my Etsy shop, because I still have way more sales on there than I have anywhere else. So.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. How do you promote your Etsy shop?
I haven't done a lot of promotion. That's something that I would like to do more in the future. I'm looking into maybe hiring a part-time help to kind of take over the daily tasks of filling orders and answering emails and that kind of thing, so that I can work on doing that type of promotion and, maybe sending product to bloggers and that kind of thing. But I just haven't had time really to get into that much. I guess the thing that I use the most is just social media. Okay.
Now, regarding hiring part-time help, what's the process you're going through to find someone to bring on?
Yeah, well, I actually haven't even started the process
Okay.
yet. It's just something that I have in mind to do in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. If you have any advice for me, I need the help.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know everyone goes about it differently, and so it's always nice to hear just different ways people do it. I know someone I had on the podcast, Dan, he found his assistant through TaskRabbit. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Oh, I don't think I have, actually.
Yeah. But that was just one way. But yeah, we digress. I'll talk to you about that. So you do a lot of social media for your Etsy shop, you said?
Yeah.
What's your social media channel of choice?
I would say it's probably a tie between Instagram and Pinterest.
Oh, okay. And do you get equal amounts of traffic directed from both of those to your shop?
It's hard to know how much traffic is coming from Instagram because a lot of times I think people just kind of they'll like see your shop on their phone and then type it in their browser or whatever. But
right.
I definitely get more direct traffic from Pinterest. But I enjoy Instagram. I enjoy kind of like the community feel that it has, and posting, on other people. It's a great way to meet other people in your industry, and to kind of get a better idea of who it is that is following you and who's buying your products, and how they're using the products once they buy them, because people post pictures, and so I enjoy Pinterest. I'm kind of a Pinterest addict, and I'm always pinning. But Yeah, I like, but I can't really choose a favorite between the two of them, I don't think.
Okay. Um, so do you do any Facebook or Twitter at all?
I do both of them, but they're probably the ones that I keep up with the least. I have my Instagram linked to both of them, so
Okay.
it's updated frequently. But as far as just actually posting on there, I probably post on there the least.
Okay. And then you also have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's something I just recently started, actually, I think in February, but I'm really enjoying that too.
Okay. So how do you use YouTube?
Um, Honestly, when I started it, I didn't really have in mind to use it as a marketing tool. I follow a lot of YouTubers, and sort of in the same way that, you follow a blog, follow a bunch of blogs, and then you think, like, oh, I'll start my own.
Yeah.
That was sort of how it started, but I get a lot of traffic through YouTube too, which is interesting. And it seems like the number of subscribers on YouTube grows much faster than the number of subscribers on my blog. I don't know if that's because there is less competition sort of on YouTube, less people do it. I mean, it's pretty much everybody and their brother has a blog,
Yes.
So I don't know if that's the reason, but it's something that I think is really fun, and it's another great way to kind of build that community, and people leave comments and you can just talk to people, and
Yeah.
I like anything like that,
Right. Yeah. And plus, I think it's easier to watch a video than it is to read a blog post. Because
Yeah.
you feel like you're being talked to, or not in a bad way, but like you're having a conversation with the person. It's more interactive, it moves faster, and then you can respond on the spot. By the time you finish scrolling down the page on a blog, you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like we all have shorter attention spans now, and for me, I like having videos on, like informational videos while I'm doing something else, and that's kind of what's nice. And I guess that's also kind of a sign of the times that
Right.
we're always trying to multitask.
Yes.
But I don't always have time to actually sit down and read paragraph after paragraph. So yeah,
Right.
I guess that's part of the reason.
Yeah, and I actually didn't get a chance to check out your YouTube channel yet, but do you talk about the products you're making? Do you talk about your process? What are your videos about?
Most of my videos are about, I have a video about Etsy. Most of them are about, having your own business, working from home. Those seem to be the kind of videos that people want to see from me. When I first started, I was just kind of making whatever was fun to me, like fashion and beauty and just kind of like silly stuff that I just for fun, and I still will kind of throw in stuff like that every once in a while, but I get the best feedback and views and comments and stuff when it comes to like videos about small business, or more like informational videos about how to do specific things when you're
Right.
opening a business.
Yeah.
That seems to be what people like the most.
Yeah, there's a lot of need. Yeah, people are searching for that big time. There's a demand. That's the word. There's a huge demand for that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really realize that when I started doing it, but I'm glad that that's the case.
Yeah. So, okay, so you do this full time. How much time per week would you say you spend working on Etsy? Because I know you have to divide your time between your commercial, your e-commerce site and Etsy. How much time would you say that you do it? Is it like a 40-hour job? Or I'm guessing it's not. It's probably much more.
Just the Etsy part itself, like if you're just talking about filling orders, responding to messages, doing listings and that kind of thing, I would say, I wouldn't say that it's a full 40 hours. I mean, I work pretty much a 40-hour week, but that includes, blogging.
Everything combined. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So I would say it's probably more like 20 or 30.
Okay. You really have this whole time management thing down, huh?
Oh, thanks. It took me a lot of trial and error to figure that out.
Okay. And have you developed any new relationships through Etsy, either business relationships or friendships, or made any connections?
Yeah, I've met a lot of cool people, and that's always fun too, because you feel like you sort of understand each other. You're both doing the same type of thing. And I even got to collaborate with another Etsy seller for one of my prints, and that was really fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I have met some cool people through Etsy.
What was the collaboration?
I did a print with a seller named Evelyn Hinson, and she is a painter. And she painted a design, and I designed a gold foil quote to go over top of the painting, and it turned out really cool. It's done nice. It's done well, yeah.
So then did you both sell it from your Etsy shops individually, or was it for a cause?
Yeah, we could have done it that way. And that was actually how another collaboration that I did with a business called Main Message. They do hair ties, and we did a collaboration together, and that was how we did that one, was we both sold it in our shops. But with this one, I actually just paid her for the painting, and then I just sell it exclusively in my shop.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's brilliant. I never thought about that. That's a good way. So if you have an idea for something and someone does that craft and you want to incorporate it with what you do, just collaborate.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a fun way to meet people too,
Yeah, very smart.
Thank you.
So let's see. Oh, you already said you haven't considered quitting or closing your Etsy shop, so that I don't need to ask you that question. But when you get a new idea for an item or a product, how long typically does it take you from the time you get the idea to actually executing it and then listing it for sale?
It really depends more on what my schedule is looking like and what all I have going on. Usually I'll kind of keep a running list of ideas, and just whenever I have the free time, I'll try to sit down and do some new designs. And sometimes I've had some that took hardly any time, and then I've had others that I started and worked on it for hours and realized that I just hated it and never did anything with it. So it depends. I don't know if I can even really give you a time, because it just depends on so many other things.
Okay. What's your tool of choice for keeping track of your ideas?
Well, like I said, I love Pinterest.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also a big fan of just a good old-fashioned notebook, and just, I make a lot of lists.
I know. I have lists all over the place.
Yeah.
3M, I think I keep 3M alive with the stickies and...
Yeah, me too.
All right. Now, do you ever get in a creative rut? And if you do, how do you work your way out?
I have gotten in a creative rut before, and usually it comes from just not creating frequently enough. I've gotten in ruts before just from where I haven't had time to do any design, and I've just been, filling orders and kind of keeping my head above water in that way. Yeah. And so then when I do go to design, it's like, oh, why can't I make anything good, And so honestly, I think the only way to get out of that rut is to just kind of, it's like a practice makes perfect type of thing. The more you do it, the easier those ideas will come to you. And the more you use your creativity, the more creativity you get, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yeah. So, Holly, what would you say are some of the things that you did in the beginning to set yourself up for success on Etsy?
I think the biggest thing that I did was just what we talked about before with the branding and just coming up with a really clear-cut idea of what I wanted to do before I even got started. And I mean, I even sat down and made a list one time, I remember, of like my ideal customer and what she does, and her favorite color, and like how she spends her free time. And I wanted to just have, and not that person, or not that every customer I have needs to be that specific or anything like that, but it's just the fact of like having that person in your mind. Yeah. Just so when you design, like the clearer cut I think your target person is, it's just easy. It just makes everything else easier from that point on. It's like, what should my logo look like? Well, what would that person like? Yeah. So that, to me, that was the biggest like preparation that I did, but was even before I started designing, just kind of planning out who I was trying to reach.
That's excellent. Actually, that's something I've just recently learned, is when you want to market something, you need to pick your ideal customer, know exactly who that person is, and then always be creating for that person. And it helps so much. It helps with focus. It makes your products better because you know who you're creating it for. I think that's just brilliant that you said that.
Thank you.
And okay, other than the flat rate fee that you wish Etsy would implement, is there any other feature that you would like to see?
That's the biggest thing. That's
a big one.
Yeah. That's really the biggest thing. I think maybe also more customization within your shop. I think it would be nice if when people went to your shop, if it looked very unique to other shops. Right now, pretty much the only customization is the header. Yeah. I think it might be nice to have a little more customization options there. But yeah, other than that, I really can't say much bad about Etsy.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It's kind of changed my life.
Oh, good. Now, what's one piece of advice you would give to a new Etsy seller, or someone who's sitting on the fence and considering selling on Etsy? They haven't made up their mind that it's what they want to do.
I think that it's really important to make a business plan, as boring as it can be. It's really important to have it planned out how you will make money, and also figure out what you're going to do that's different. Not that you have to be completely different from everything else that's out there, but what are you going to offer that isn't already being offered? And those kind of questions and that kind of planning will make a big difference. I think some people just kind of jump in, and there does have to be an element of that. I think you can't plan something to death. Like you have to do the planning and figure out, how you're gonna do this, or what your goals are, and then you do have to just kind of jump in eventually. But you don't want to jump in without having any idea what what you're doing. Yeah. So I would say come up with a business plan. That's probably the most important thing, and figure out what makes you unique.
Okay, excellent. What's something that you're doing right now that you would say is working really well for you?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
I gotta think about this one. I guess the time management thing. I do feel like I finally got a hold of that. Oh, and I'll tell you something that I finally just got organized, and that was my finances. The first probably year that I was in business, it was just a mess. It was my finances were unorganized, my business receipts and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was just this constant stress in the back of my head, and when tax time would come around, I was just so frazzled. And I finally, I got QuickBooks and I got everything organized, and as boring as that is and as tedious as it is, and it's something, it's stuff that the typical creative person doesn't want to deal with, but it is such a relief to like finally get it under control. It's worth spending a few hours and getting it all organized, because otherwise it will just always be stressing you out in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
So I think I'm proud of myself for finally getting that under control.
Yeah, that's huge, because it's important and it's the last thing we want to do. But it's so important to get that together. So QuickBooks is your accounting tool of choice.
Yeah.
Did you find it easy to work with?
I did, actually. I mean, okay. I have pretty much no knowledge of accounting. Both of my parents majored in accounting in college, but it is just like not my thing. And so if I could figure it out, I think anyone could.
Okay, good deal. Holly, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to get to you?
Probably just through email. It's just holly@charmandgumption.com.
Okay. All right. And I will have links to Holly's Etsy shop, her website, her e-commerce website, and her blog, and her email, and all her social media accounts. If you want to hop over and check out her products, they're really unique, if for the right audience, they resonate really well. And I can see, I saw lots of things that I was like, oh, I really like that. So I'll have links to all that. And Holly, thank you so much for being my guest this week on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you. And if you have feedback for Holly or feedback on this episode of the podcast, please feel free to go to the website and leave your feedback. And you can email me. You can also tweet me. I'm at Convo Me Podcast on Twitter, and the Facebook page, which is Etsy Conversations Podcast.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.